Okay, so in this video, we are continuing our derivative rules and we are discussing the quotient rule. So the quotient rule is obviously when you have a quotient, you have division, okay? So you can see here where we are taking the derivative of a quotient. So you have f of x divided by g of x, and then you've got your derivative notation here, okay? And we're going to have g of x times the derivative of f of x minus f of x times the derivative of g of x, and this all over g of x squared. So one thing you want to be careful of is the order of the subtraction matters, okay? I cannot switch the order of how I'm subtracting those terms on the top. So you have to be very careful that you actually remember this exact formula. You don't want to be switching things around on the top of the fraction. And what we're going to do is think of the g of x as being the low because that is what's in the bottom of that fraction. And then we're going to think of the f of x as being the high because that's what's in the top of that fraction, okay? And then what you can do is you can I was going to try to get those marks out of there. I'm not going to worry about it. So then what you can do is you can tell yourself this formula here, low D high minus high D low over low low. And that's how you can memorize the order that you need to do it. So when I'm saying low, that's the g of x, D high, that's the derivative of the f of x, minus the high, which is the f of x, um, times the derivative of the low, which is the g of x, and then over low low, which is the g of x times the g of x. Okay, it makes more sense when you do it, I think. So here is our quotient. Okay, now there's really not much, there's really no simplifying we can do here on this function. And so we're pretty much stuck with dealing with this quotient, all right? So I'm going to think to myself, all right, so the derivative of f of x is going to be low, okay, times the derivative of the high minus the high times the derivative of the low over low, low, okay? Or you can think right here, instead of low, low, you can think about writing that as low squared, okay? So let's just fill this in here. So we've got f prime of x is low, so I'm just going to take that x squared plus 2x, okay, that's the g of x on the bottom, or the bottom function, times the derivative of the high, so that's the derivative of the top. 2 is a constant multiple times the derivative of x cubed, which is 3x squared. And then the 3 is a constant, derivative of that is 0. And then minus high, so I'm just going to write that function that's on the top there, times the derivative of the low. So that's x squared has a derivative of 2x. And then the 2x has a derivative of 2, because 2 is a constant multiple. And then the x would be 1x to the 0, like that. And then over low, low, so that's just going to be your x squared plus 2x squared. Okay, and then let's just clean this up a little bit here. So this second part here, okay, it's not going to let me highlight for some reason. Okay, the second, let's see, I'll just kind of do blue here. This second here, that simplifies to 6x squared, and I'm just going to put that in the front of, so that x squared plus 2x, and it is okay to change the order right there. Remember, I just can't change the order of the subtraction, okay? So there's a difference in what I'm saying there, okay? And then this part here, this just simplifies down to 2x plus 2. Okay, and so I'm going to have 2x cubed minus 3 times 2x plus 2. And you don't need to multiply out the bottom or multiply out anything on the top. You can just leave it just like that. Okay, and this is our derivative. And okay, and then we'll be putting that in Excel as we get a little further along with our derivatives. All right, so let's look at our second one here. We'll go through this one a little bit quicker. We're going to just think through our low d high minus high d low over low low. So low is 2x minus x squared. D high, that is just going to be 1, right? So as you get better at your derivatives, you just kind of go to the simplified answer there, okay? Minus high times D low, which will be 2 minus 2x. You can pause the video, slow things down there a little bit if you need to. And then low, low, 2x minus x squared squared. Okay. So like I said, this is our derivative. Now you could drop this 1 out of there, right? It doesn't really matter if you put that 1 there because just multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything. But it's okay to leave it too if you want, just kind of help you remember that you did all the steps. But you can see there, as we get better with our derivatives, we can do some steps in our head, right? And we can not have to write out so much. Just goes to pretty much to the answer. Okay, so let's look at number 3 here. Okay, so this m of x needs a rewrite. Okay, so I'm going to have x squared minus 1/4 x over 7 minus x to the 1/2. Okay, and this is what I want to use to do my derivative, that rewrite. So m prime of x, so low 7 minus x to the 1/2, okay, times d high, which is going to be 2x minus 1/4, minus high x squared minus 1/4 x times d low, and that's going to be minus 1/2 or negative 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Okay, remember, feel free to pause the video and slow things down and write out more steps if you need them. Just starting to streamline some steps, which is what we'll be working towards. Okay, and then this is our low, low on the bottom. All right, and that's pretty much the answer in simplified form there. You really don't have to do anything else. So this would be ready to put into Excel. Okay, so now let's look at 4 and 5. Okay, now here's where students really like the quotient rule. It's very procedural, like it's pretty actually easy to do once you get the hang of it. So they want to use it on everything. So here's where I don't want you to use the quotient rule. So do not use the quotient rule, okay? I want you to do a rewrite on your g of x where you divide that 2 into each term. So that'll be x squared minus, oops, sorry. It's actually going to write out the steps here. I forgot to do that. So it'll be 2x squared over 2 minus 4x over 2 plus 10 over 2, okay? And then we want to simplify this. So this is x squared minus 2x plus 5, okay? And then take the derivative. So that's going to be 2x minus 2, okay? And that's going to be my derivative. So this right here, derivative that we got, is going to be way easier to deal with when we go to putting things into Excel, okay? So like I said, if we were to do the quotient rule, we're going to have something a lot more tedious to key into Excel. All right. So we need to get ourselves trained so that we simplify the function when we can, so that we can just use basic derivatives if that's possible. Okay. Sometimes it's not possible. Okay. Like on these previous examples that we did here, 1, 2, and 3, it was not simplify. It was not possible to simplify it so that we could just use basic derivatives. Okay. That's why we use quotient rule on those. But 4 and 5 can both be simplified, and we can use our basic derivative. So let's go ahead and do 5 here. This is 15x cubed divided by 5x plus 2x squared divided by 5x minus 10 divided by 5x. And you don't have to write this out. You can do this in your head if you're able to do that. So that would be 3x squared plus 2/5 x minus 2x to the negative 1. Okay, and then we are going to use our basic derivatives to finish this problem out. Okay, so that's going to be p prime of x is 6x plus 2/5 plus 2x to the negative 2, and that will be my derivative. Once again, this is going to be a lot better to get into Excel as compared to what we would get if we did the quotient rule. Okay, so like I said, you have to start thinking ahead about where things are going here a little bit so you're making the right choice. Okay, so you're going to use the quotient rule when it's not possible to simplify the function and just use basic derivatives. Okay, and that's when you're only going to use the quotient rule